many of us are noticing not nearly as many immigrants hanging around in the cities and on the streets as we're used to seeing in the last month or two. And there's speculation that they may have been, a lot of them may have been, and even homeless people may have been picked up and put in some of these detention centers. Do you have any knowledge of that at all?
Stuffed into what?
Put in detention centers that do exist around in the country.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have any comment. I don't have any notice or understanding of that, and quite honestly, I can't make a statement to that effect.
Some of the shopping centers down here are like ghost towns. There's just not hard. We don't see a lot of people walking the streets like we're used to seeing a lot of homeless people, vagrants, and
that's because the economy is so good that there's nobody on the streets.
Oh.
No, I don't have any statement to that effect. So I apologize, but I don't think we can answer that.
That's quite all right. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye. You got it. God bless you, sir. Have a good night. All right, we're going to bring on area code 260. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes. Hi, Calby. This is Tracy from Indiana.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Okay. You may not be able to go into any details, and I understand that, but I was just wanting to know how will the de facto's debt be handled?
How will the what be handled?
The de facto's giant debt be handled.
Can somebody else say what she just said? You cut out a couple times. I don't know if you're on a bad line or I'm on a bad line, but say that one more time a little slower.
Saying the de facto debt.
How will the de facto debt? How will the de facto debt be handled? You know what, Tracy? That is a huge question. It has to be dealt with one way or the other. All I know is there is a debt that cannot be repaid. The debt is in the $200 plus trillion. What the de facto has done is made the guarantee of the debt the people and the land of this country. Even though they didn't have the lawful right in either one, their attempt was to use us and use the land as their guarantee. So when you ask a question like that, it's a hard question to answer because, number one, we're not responsible for that debt. Now, technically, our people, quote unquote, that these honest senators and representatives that we've voted for and put into office over the last 150 years, which I don't necessarily think we even voted for necessarily or put them into the office. At least in the last 10 years, I think there's been a lot of voter fraud. But these people that have been put into office, we put them there, quote unquote, and the decisions that they made were on our behalf, and lawfully we were put into that debt. So to answer your question, Tracy, let me ask you, how do you pay $200 plus trillion of debt? It's impossible. It's literally impossible. And why we're pushing this republic so hard and so quick is we are at a crunch time where the UN is going to have to intervene if there's civil unrest. Now, let's look at all the different scenarios of that, because the only way that there's going to be civil unrest is if there's a civil war, which we don't want one. I don't want one.
No. Or
there's a major catastrophe, or there's a major issue on Wall Street and the dollar crashes. There could be civil unrest in many different spots in this country, and that might be an excuse for them to use to bring in the United Nations onto our land. But what people don't realize is we already have hundreds of thousands of foreign troops on our land. We supposedly also have Chinese at the borders in Mexico. I don't know. I haven't seen these foreign troops. I've seen a lot of foreigners. You know, I've seen a lot of movies that talk about people that will spend their entire life in another country getting ready for the moment. That's a movie. You know, this isn't about scaring people. What this is about for us in the Republic is taking a lawful venue to do what we have done, and what we literally have now, because of the notice to the Hague and the notice to the UN and the notice to all these agencies coming out, what we have is lawful right on the land. So the question is how do we deal with the issues as they come up on that debt? I wish I had a solid answer for you, but there isn't a solid answer. You have hundreds of countries potentially coming at you saying you've committed fraud. It was a story. It wasn't a rumor. It was an actual story, and it was talked about on CNN back in December of 2009, where plane loads of foreign dignitaries and their CPAs came in and had a meeting with the Treasury regarding all these federal-backed securities or mortgage-backed securities and all the level of fraud. There was a rumor that Timothy Geithner was arrested, and obviously he's still in office. Obviously he's still working, so that's a pretty funny rumor.
Yeah.
It may or may not be real. And there's also a rumor that, here's the bottom line. The plane loads, these hundreds of foreign dignitaries who've been burned by the U.S. corporation, came to a reality check in 2009 that through that audit, they were in trouble. And then from January through September, they tallied it up and they got the numbers. And basically the U.S. corporation ended its fiscal year in 2010 at the end of September. And hear me out, ladies and gentlemen, from October 1 to today, the U.S. corporation is operating without a budget. The first time in American history, first time in U.S. history, that they operated without a budget for this period of time. This is amazing times we're in. And it's because the U.S. corporation is in bankruptcy and it can't move forward printing fiat money, reducing the value. And every time they print out what's called that QE1, QE2, what is QE1? Quantum easing 1, quantum easing 2. Well, it's the first time they had to print new money because nobody would buy the mortgage-backed securities anymore. Nobody would buy the bonds, the treasury bonds. So they printed money. They called it QE1 and QE2. Now, let's take a step back and think about it. They tell you everything they're going to do. They print what they're going to do on their dollars. They print it on websites. They give marketing material. They have the Civilian Inmate Manual of 2005 posted right on the Army website. They have FEMA camps. They tell you what they're going to do. They show you. They're not telling you. They're showing you what they're going to do. And with all that in place, they tell you with the QE1 quantum easing. Why do they call it quantum easing? Because they're trying to ease something so big from a complete collapse that they're just going to try to keep it down long enough so they can cover their back, because in 2011, inflation is going to go through the roof. Gas is going to go up. Bread is going to go up. These things are going to go up. And the de facto is not getting funded anymore, and they can't just keep printing money to pay interest payments. And so this mess is going to transpire potentially and bring that civil unrest. Tracy, we got a problem on our hands. That's why we have a Monday night prayer call. That's why we are working through this one day at a time. I mean, how do we as a republic, just a bunch of regular people, get through these major hurdles and issues? And the only way is with God. So I wish I could answer your question with more clarity. I'm sorry I went on that tangent, but we have a problem, and we have to get through this, and it's got to be with Him. So I just want to put that out there. And do you have any more questions?
No, and I completely understand, and forgive me. Maybe I shouldn't have even brought that up, but just something that had been in the back of my mind, and no.
That's all right.
All
right, no more questions.
Right. I'll yield the floor.
God bless you. We'll see you on Monday evening.
All right, you too, Kelby.
And bye-bye. All right, we're going to bring on area code 701. Go ahead, you have the floor. 701, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello?
Sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, this is Dwayne from North Dakota, and I would like to know how you can possibly get a government organized to deal with the myriad of programs and things that people are used to living with, and finance that, the billions of dollars that it's going to take to finance that, whether it's building roads or running schools or whatever. Can you give me a little bit of clarification in that area?
So you want me to give you the business plan of the Republic and deal with the vast amount of workload that is going to be required of the volunteers and very few volunteers, the couple thousand that we have, to help the entire world and stabilize the financial system. I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Grimes, right now. I personally don't think it's going to be a smooth transition. That's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to it. I think we're going to deal with a lot of heartache in this next year, 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years. That's my personal opinion. I think the people that plan are going to be okay. I think that we are going to put together a safe haven for the people that will allow for food, allow for these things for the people of the Republic. I think the people outside of the Republic are going to have a lot more issues because they're going to be the collateral for the corporation, and they're going to be going through a lot. So to answer your question, I would ask that you would submit your resume with a detailed plan of what you would do. And I got to do the same, and Ken's got to do the same, because this is going to be a thing where Americans have to come together and pray that we can pull this thing off. This is not going to be easy, sir, and I don't think it will be. Even if, Mr. Grimes, if we were funded today, here's $10 trillion, Republic, here you go. There is not the wherewithal to do the millions of jobs and training and the amount of spending and check cutting and holding accountable. You just can't do it without having massive hiccups. So to answer your question and tell you it's going to be a smooth transition would be an absolute lie, in my opinion. And I'm sorry I can't give you a better explanation. I would just say, sir, pray that this Republic has great leaders raised up that can handle that workload, and pray that God replaces me and you and everybody else on this call with far better and more qualified people that want to be a public servant, because that's the one variable difference. And if you look through the Old Testament and the New Testament, God always uses the meek. He always uses the people you wouldn't believe. That's what he's done here in this Republic. So when you hear about all the people that Tim has surrounded himself with being nincompoops or whatever, first of all, I'm proud of those men. Number one, they have more cojones for standing up for what is right and what is good, and they've done an outstanding job. Secondly, they're short-lived, and they're going to be replaced at some time with somebody that's better. What I'm hoping we can do is instill the public servant attitude in anybody that wants to become a part of this Republic, because God will honor that. And this is, if you believe that this is God's house, God will build it. And you don't really need to worry about it, because he'll put the pieces and the people together.
Thank you.
Does that help? All right. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. We're going to move on to area code 812. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Yes, I'm down in the southern part of the Republic. And is this Kelby?
I know your voice.
Yeah,
I
know you know. I'm fine, and you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Good. Look, and I'm not a bummer, dude. I'm for you 100%. And let me just state.
Let me have it. Let me have it, Sidney.
Sir?
I said, go ahead. Let me have it.
I'm not going to let you have anything. All I'm saying is this, Kelp. No, I'm not. You're laughing. Look, please, if I may, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I've saved my money. I've been frugal for the last more than a decade.
Okay.
okay, I have the ability to do the things that I need to do to take care of myself. And